I don't even know I had the bandwidth at that time to think about what the big picture dream was. There was no plan.
It started as a quiet rumor, a mysterious figure gliding through the golden doors of the Hotel Plaza Athénée, draped in Dior's razor-sharp tailoring, moving under the dim glow of a Parisian December evening. The date? December 20th, 2025. The occasion? Dior's ultra-exclusive Winter 2025 confidential showcase, a secret fashion gathering for billion-dollar brand ambassadors and global royalty only. But then came the photos, grainy, rushed, and rain-splattered. Influencers caught shaky glimpses on their phones, zooming in through wet car windows. Within hours, those blurry clips blew up on TikTok and Twitter with one jaw-dropping claim: Princess Catherine spotted in Paris. Except she wasn't. While social media went wild and tabloids screamed headlines about a secret royal Dior visit, Princess Catherine was actually miles away, in Birmingham, England. She was hosting a private holiday event for underprivileged families, surrounded by verified witnesses, press, and even a police protection logbook confirming her every move. So then, who was the mystery woman sitting front row at Dior? Why did she have royal-level clearance codes granting her VIP suite access and backstage entry? And how did Dior's official digital guest list show the name Catherine Elizabeth Windsor? What began as an innocent online mix-up exploded into one of the biggest royal identity scandals in years. And here's where it gets even more intense. Internal documents obtained by our investigation team suggest this could have been the breaking point in the already fragile relationship between the palace and Meghan Markle. According to insiders from Dior's event crew, speaking only under tight anonymity, the mysterious guest didn't arrive alone. She showed up in a private black SUV, flanked by 2 bodyguards and a female publicist registered under the name M. Avela. The resemblance, the timing, the access, it all raised one haunting question that still echoes. Who really wanted to be seen as Princess Catherine that night? Her face was hidden. Oversized sunglasses, a low-brimmed designer hat, and that air of mystery that turns heads without even trying. But the second she stepped into the reception area, she lifted the disguise and gasps followed. Underneath was a face that looked shockingly familiar. She looked like Catherine, at least at a glance, recalled one backstage coordinator. Elegant, calm, and with that quiet confidence the princess is known for. Except, something didn't feel right. The makeup was too heavy, the gestures too rehearsed. The way she posed for photographers? It felt staged, like someone playing Catherine rather than being her. Within hours, the internet went wild. Influencers posted breathless updates claiming the princess had slipped away for a secret solo fashion moment in Paris. Style bloggers called it a silent branding move, while fans gushed that it was Catherine's boldest public appearance yet. One single grainy shot, the woman's back turned, long brunette hair flowing under a crisp white Dior coat, was enough to set off hundreds of headlines back in Britain. Kensington Palace's communication lines blew up overnight. Reporters demanded answers. Was the Princess of Wales in Paris? Was this a new image strategy? Why no official word? Yet the palace stayed completely silent, at least publicly. Behind those gilded doors, though, chaos was unfolding. Within 12 tense hours of the social media storm, senior aides at Buckingham Palace were deep in investigation mode. They began combing through the royal protocol archives, a heavily restricted internal database that tracks royal travel permissions, diplomatic clearances, and top-level security access. And what they found was jaw-dropping. A Class B Royal Access Code, one reserved only for HRH, the Princess of Wales, had been used to book a luxury suite at the Hotel Plaza Athénée. Even more shocking, that same code, RPA119CEW, appeared again at Dior's private security gate, verified by their system as authentic royal credentials. The question hanging in the air was chilling. Who had the power and the nerve to use Catherine's identity from the inside? In short, someone had either forged or illegally used an official royal family digital clearance to pose as Princess Catherine at one of the most elite fashion events of the year.
The ability to have somebody who is kind of epitomizes what you think your country stands for has always been a major ambition. And it's a huge advantage if you have somebody who can be recognised as that, and not just in your country, but around the world. People don't change that much. I think they recognise those people whose commitment has been constant, and they know that those standards are not changing.
While palace staff tore through database logs and royal lawyers scrambled to contact France's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, tabloids kicked into high gear, digging, comparing and connecting dots like bloodhounds. And that's when the timeline started to overlap in a way that sent shockwaves through both London and Paris. On December 18th, Meghan Markle was photographed boarding a private jet out of Van Nuys, California. The flight plan, unlisted, but aviation bloggers tracked the same jet landing in Paris-Le Bourget airport the very next day, December 19th. Then paparazzi outside the Plaza Athénée snapped a mystery woman stepping out of a sleek SUV in head-to-toe Dior couture, surrounded by stylists and bodyguards, on December 20th. And here's where it got wild. Meghan's own personal stylist posted, then quickly deleted, a behind-the-scenes photo from Dior's headquarters. The caption, "Backstage perfection for Our Lady in White. #confidential winter 25. That one post blew up screenshots across every gossip feed before it vanished. Then, on December 21st, a respected French journalist dropped a cryptic tweet. The woman in Dior's front row was not Catherine. France's luxury insiders know the truth, and they're furious. That single tweet turned a whisper of suspicion into an international scandal overnight. By December 23rd, the silence from Buckingham Palace had become deafening and completely unsustainable. According to sources, Princess Anne personally urged King Charles III to launch a full internal audit of royal travel credentials to expose whoever had access to Catherine's code. Inside the palace, tensions were boiling over. Insiders claim Prince William was furious beyond words, but pushed to keep calm until every fact was locked in. The entire royal household was suddenly on edge, and for good reason. Someone out there had played a very dangerous game with the royal name, and the fallout was just beginning. Princess Catherine stayed poised as ever, sticking to her full public schedule and keeping absolutely silent. Not a single comment, not even a subtle hint of reaction. But behind closed doors, whispers told a different story. One aide reportedly confided to a BBC journalist that the princess was heartbroken, not because someone copied her, but because the world believed it might have actually been her. Because this wasn't just a stolen front-row seat at a fashion show. This was a precision-planned identity hijack. It was a move wrapped in couture, executed like a high-stakes operation, and aimed straight at the royal family's brightest symbol of grace and modern power. And as the palace would soon discover, that shocking night in Paris was only the beginning. What started as a mysterious fashion stunt spiraled into a full-on diplomatic crisis. After the palace quietly launched its internal review on December 23rd, answers began surfacing fast. Thanks, ironically, to the relentless speed of social media. On December 24th, a Reddit thread exploded online titled, "I was on Meghan's Paris team, ask me anything." Within hours, it went viral before being mysteriously deleted. The anonymous poster, claiming to be a former freelance PR assistant, spilled everything, giving a chilling, minute-by-minute breakdown of what they called the Paris Project. According to their post, the plan included a staged Dior entrance, an invitation-only wardrobe fitting inside a private hotel suite, and, most damning of all, the intentional misuse of official royal styling codes. "I was hired short-term," the user wrote. "My job was to create an aura of royalty. We practiced lighting and camera angles to make her look like Catherine. We brought in makeup artists who'd previously worked with Kate Middleton. The entire strategy was to trigger media confusion, without saying a single word. Every detail lined up with the palace's ongoing investigation, and for the first time the world began to see it for what it truly was. Not a misunderstanding, but a deliberate, image-shattering scheme crafted to blur the line between a duchess and a princess. Screenshots from that shocking Reddit thread spread like wildfire across X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and every royal gossip forum imaginable. The message was unmistakable. This wasn't some random mix-up. It was a calculated publicity stunt, staged down to the last detail to spark hype for an upcoming luxury launch that hadn't even been announced yet. By the evening of December 25th, things took a dramatic turn. Dior's legal team issued a private directive. Meghan Markle was to be banned from all future Dior shows, events, and fittings. The move was quietly verified by 3 fashion editors and a leaked industry memo that surfaced the very next day. On Boxing Day, Dior's executive board held an emergency Zoom call with brand ambassadors and VIP coordinators to contain the damage. Multiple insiders confirmed that Bernard Arnault, the powerful CEO of LVMH, was furious. The Dior name had been dragged into what insiders were now calling a full-blown royal identity scam. Luxury thrives on silence and mystique, one veteran fashion journalist told us. What Meghan did, deliberately blurring the lines between herself and a senior working royal, wasn't just bold. It was reckless. It risks legal fallout, brand chaos, and even diplomatic tension. But the biggest bombshell came next, and it sent chills through palace walls. The Dior access code used that night, RPA119CEW, was officially traced back to a suspended royal associate. This individual had briefly worked as a digital liaison during Meghan and Harry's final year as active royals. That discovery changed everything. It proved that this wasn't spontaneous or accidental. It was premeditated. And worse, it hinted at internal sabotage within royal ranks. What started as a viral mystery had now transformed into a scandal with global consequences. Fashion, royalty, and power colliding in one explosive storyline that no one saw coming. Someone inside the royal IT security web had clearly been compromised, and the timing couldn't have been more haunting. In a poetic twist of fate, December 26th, better known as Boxing Day, also became the moment King Charles received a sealed red envelope from Princess Anne. Inside was a letter, handwritten years earlier by the late Queen Elizabeth II herself. Sources familiar with its contents say the Queen's message was chillingly prophetic. She had warned of a time when unauthorized persons may falsely adopt royal identity for personal gain, and included a private directive that any such act be punished with permanent expulsion from all royal titles, duties, and privileges. Till that day, the letter had rested untouched inside a Windsor vault, but now it carried monumental weight. By December 27th, senior advisors at Kensington Palace were crafting an emergency communication plan. The palace was in damage control mode, while Prince William, reportedly embarrassed and furious over the impersonation of his wife, demanded a full audit of every remaining security clearance tied to former royals. Behind the polished press silence, the tension was electric. As for Princess Catherine, she stayed outwardly composed, her public grace unshaken. But those close to her say the pain ran deep. She's not someone ruled by ego, one family friend revealed. But seeing someone try to hijack her dignity for a PR game, that hit her hard. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle maintained total public silence. No denials, no clarifications, no legal threats, nothing. Her representatives ignored every media request, and her official Archewell channels went completely dark from December 21st to December 29th. The timing was too perfect to ignore, and the silence only made the whispers grow louder. Inside Hollywood's tight PR circles, insiders began murmuring about a new storm brewing behind the scenes. One source tied to a major streaming platform claimed Meghan had been in confidential talks for a royalty-themed luxury beauty campaign. The revelation sent shockwaves through industry insiders. If true, it meant the Paris stunt wasn't just personal, it was promotional. The idea that a global fashion house, royal drama, and Hollywood branding could all collide in one scandal left everyone asking the same burning question. Was this all just coincidence, or the most daring PR play of the decade? The project was suddenly paused indefinitely. Meghan's rumoured luxury deal put on ice after whispers of her ethical violations in Paris. She thought she could outsmart the monarchy, one insider claimed. But instead, she got blacklisted by both worlds. While Meghan's camp stayed completely silent, the palace was quietly moving into action, not with outrage, but with precision. On December 29th, an emergency private meeting was called at Clarence House, chaired by none other than Princess Anne herself. Around the table sat legal counsel from the Lord Chamberlain's office and 2 of King Charles's most senior advisors. The agenda was unmistakable: unauthorized royal impersonation, and what it meant for diplomacy, family order, and public trust. According to sources close to the discussion, Princess Anne pushed for a response that would be calm, deliberate, and drenched in royal symbolism. This isn't about revenge, she reportedly said. "It's about restoration." Her tone set the mood for what came next. The crown wouldn't strike with words, but with presence. That same afternoon, Prince William and Princess Catherine met with their communications team at Adelaide Cottage, just outside Windsor. Together, they agreed on one unshakable strategy. Catherine would not make a statement. Instead, her silence would speak volumes. Every appearance, every gesture, every outfit from that day forward would become part of a larger message. Quiet strength, poise, and unmistakable royal authority. Then came December 30th. In a perfectly timed move, the Wales family made a surprise public appearance at St Mary Magdalene Church near Sandringham. Catherine, walking beside Princess Charlotte and Prince George, looked radiant in a bespoke sapphire blue coat by Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen. Cameras flashed as the images went global. The message crystal clear. She was still here, still composed, still royal to the core. While social media buzzed over her elegance, insiders knew this wasn't just a holiday outing. It was a silent counterattack, crafted with royal precision and broadcast to the world without a single word spoken. Her look that day was pure symbolism, a masterstroke of quiet power. Catherine's outfit subtly mirrored the silhouette of the now infamous Dior ensemble, the very one that sparked weeks of chaos. But this version, it was elevated, regal, and unmistakably authentic. Pinned neatly to her collar was Queen Elizabeth II's diamond thistle brooch, an heirloom reserved only for sovereign messages of moral clarity and Scottish occasions. The meaning couldn't have been clearer. The message hit like a thunderclap across Europe. Catherine wasn't just the Princess of Wales anymore. She had become the monarchy's living answer to every false imitation and every counterfeit queen. Fashion editors caught it instantly. The Daily Telegraph splashed the headline, "The Original Returns." French outlet La Figaro ran an even sharper line. "Pas besoin de Dior." Catherine répond en silence. Translation? "No need for Dior," Catherine answers in silence. But behind that polished public moment, something much heavier was happening inside the palace walls. Few knew that an official statement had already been drafted on December 28th, carrying the full authority of the crown. The document described the Dior scandal as a flagrant breach of ethical boundaries between former and active royal figures, and firmly reaffirmed that only those with sovereign authority could represent the crown in matters of image, protocol, and ceremonial styling. Yet, at the last possible moment, King Charles personally intervened and shelved the statement. His reasoning was simple, almost poetic. Do not speak to damage. Let their choices expose them. Princess Anne reportedly agreed, though she proposed a backup plan. If Meghan denied involvement or tried to blame the palace, the statement would be reissued within 24 hours, complete with evidence from the Royal Fashion Archive, including written warnings that had allegedly been sent to the Sussex household back in May 2023. As of January 1st, that powerful document remains sealed, but far from forgotten. And while the world debated what came next, one quiet moment outside St Mary Magdalene Church told the entire story. Catherine standing tall, her sapphire coat catching the winter sun, the diamond thistle gleaming just beneath her chin. No words, no fury, just unshakable grace that spoke louder than any press release ever could. That quiet walk outside St Mary Magdalene Church spoke louder than any royal speech ever could. As the Wales family made their way back to their vehicle, cameras caught a tender moment that melted hearts everywhere. Prince George, just 11 years old, leaned close to his mother and whispered something that later echoed across the internet. "You look just like her, Mum." "But you didn't. She looked like you." Those simple words, innocent yet piercing, went viral under the hashtag #TheTrueQueen, flooding social media within hours. It became more than a trending tag. It was a rallying cry. Young royal supporters, Meghan's staged appearances and spotlight-driven gestures began flooding timelines with side-by-side photos, captions, and heartfelt messages. The debate was no longer about fashion. It was about authenticity, dignity, and the very soul of the monarchy. By early January, the palace's quiet recalibration turned into visible action. Two senior royals made discreet but decisive moves to distance the crown from the Sussex brand. Duchess Sophie, long considered Catherine's calm and loyal ally, requested that Meghan's name be removed from the guest list of an upcoming Commonwealth charity gala set for March. Around the same time, Prince Edward formally declined a meeting request from a Netflix documentary crew reportedly connected to Archewell Productions, a direct signal that royal cooperation was off the table. But the real hammer fell when Princess Anne herself took charge. She ordered a full review of heraldic imagery and wardrobe insignias used by Meghan during her tenure as a working royal. A serious audit to confirm whether any of those royal emblems or design elements were being reused in public or commercial projects without authorization. This wasn't symbolic. It was a legal measure, fully endorsed by the Royal Trust. If Meghan's December stunt had been meant to reclaim relevance or stir buzz, it backfired spectacularly. Catherine's silence became her strongest defense, a fortress of quiet grace. Princess Anne's precision became a firewall protecting the monarchy's integrity. Prince William's restraint became a lesson in controlled power.
And that was true of some events. That would certainly be necessary. But it was about getting the experience and going to the right places and following on and keeping your eyes and ears open to learn how to do it. But the watching and learning was not a bad way of doing it.
And King Charles, frail in health but crystal clear in purpose, issued a direct internal order to the Lord Chamberlain. From this point forward, the Crown would respond not with noise, but with unshakable authority. The new royal directive was crystal clear and absolute. All royal styling codes, including ceremonial colour palettes and brooch insignias, are to be considered protected representations of sovereign identity. Unauthorized imitation shall be deemed a violation of royal ethics. With those words, the monarchy had spoken, not through scandal or outrage, but with pure, unmistakable power. Then came the morning of January 4th, 2026, quiet, cold, and still as Christmas decorations were being packed away across the Sandringham estate. Down in London, a black car with tinted windows slipped discreetly through the south gate of Buckingham Palace. Inside sat Princess Anne, her face unreadable, clutching a thin red leather file. A file that hadn't been opened since spring 2021. That file, known only by insiders as the Monarch's Archive Addendum 7C, carried extraordinary weight. It contained the private documentation outlining all royal branding restrictions, wardrobe protocols, and visual identity protections. Within it were letters personally exchanged between Queen Elizabeth II and the Sussex household, explicitly discussing appropriate royal presentation and visual conduct. For years, the file had gathered dust, considered outdated, a mere relic. But now, it was back in circulation, and with it came Princess Anne's full determination to restore control over the Crown's image once and for all. Just 3 days earlier, Dior's legal department had quietly reached out to the palace through an encrypted diplomatic channel. Their tone, anxious, almost pleading. The message asked, in careful words, whether Meghan Markle's Paris appearance, the now notorious quasi-royal ensemble, had been approved in any official capacity. They feared the scandal might evolve into a full-blown legal and diplomatic crisis between London and Paris. According to palace insiders, the reply was immediate and uncompromising. No such approval was ever given. We consider the styling a misrepresentation of royal heritage. That single message hit Dior's headquarters like a thunderbolt. The statement was short, almost polite, but beneath its restraint was a warning that reverberated through Europe's fashion elite. This wasn't about image anymore. It was about identity, legacy, and the invisible boundary between monarchy and celebrity. The French fashion world suddenly understood. The Crown had drawn its line in the sand, and this time, there would be no mistaking who truly wore the title of royal. What shook Dior most wasn't just the palace's sharp denial, it was what the response implied. It suggested the Crown was quietly preparing a formal rebuttal, and that sent shockwaves through the luxury world. Princess Anne, ever the strategist, knew exactly what was at stake. Meghan wasn't simply playing with fashion, she was weaponizing it, using color, cut, and silhouette like chess pieces in a game of public perception. This wasn't couture. It was narrative warfare, and Anne wasn't about to let it go unanswered. Inside that revived red file, Monarch's Archive, Addendum 7C, were at least 5 confidential memos addressed directly to Meghan Markle, written between March 2020 and June 2021. Among them, a now historic letter dated May 2020 from Queen Elizabeth II herself. In it, The late Queen had formally requested that distinctive ceremonial hues and wardrobe formats used by senior royals not be replicated in private ventures or public appearances abroad. Another entry, a July 2020 legal memorandum, was even blunter. It warned the Sussex household that any future reproduction of royal styles, brooches, sashes or hats associated with sovereign events may constitute a breach of ethical protocol. The tone was unmistakable, polite, yet ironclad. Then came the August 2021 advisory from Princess Anne, written after Meghan appeared in New York wearing a near duplicate of Queen Elizabeth's famous Balmoral green ensemble from the Jubilee year. The advisory wasn't subtle. It was a warning wrapped in formality. Meghan had been cautioned not once, but multiple times, in language far sterner and more official than the public ever realized. By January 5, 2026, during a confidential meeting with the Privy Council's Ethics Committee, Princess Anne decided the time for quiet hints was over. She delivered what would become the most quoted line of her royal career. "The crown is not a costume, it is not for hire, and it will not be mimicked into merchandise." Those 12 words, delivered in her signature tone of calm steel, rippled across the monarchy like a final verdict. Within days, the quote appeared verbatim in the Times of London, symbolizing a new era of royal discipline. At that same meeting, King Charles gave his full authorization for Anne to proceed with one last decisive move: the issuance of a royal protocol enforcement letter addressed to the Sussex household's legal team in California. This wasn't rumor control anymore. It was a royal command, drawn straight from the archives of authority, ready to end the game once and for all. The message from the palace couldn't have been clearer. A direct order cloaked in elegance but backed by power. Cease all unauthorized styling that could be interpreted as royal representation. Withdraw any commercial footage or imagery featuring such misrepresentations. Acknowledge receipt within 72 hours, or face a public clarification from the palace. The Royal Protocol Enforcement Letter was officially dispatched at 1800 GMT, January 5th, marked Priority Confidential. Within hours, panic reportedly rippled through Meghan's legal and PR teams. Multiple insider leaks described a chaotic scramble behind closed doors. Archewell PR swiftly took down promotional materials tied to Meghan's new lifestyle launch, while partner brands and stylists suddenly went silent, deleting posts, cancelling interviews, and backing out of planned collaborations overnight. Whispers started to swirl in the media trenches. One source told the Daily Express they thought the palace wouldn't respond, that Catherine would stay quiet, that Anne was too busy. They were wrong. The quote spread fast, painting a vivid picture of a Hollywood team blindsided by royal discipline. Even more telling was Dior's sudden move. The fashion house quietly pulled Meghan's name from a pending winter campaign without explanation. No press statement, no excuses, just silence. But the message was unmistakable. The game had changed. By January 6th, even Meghan's most loyal Hollywood allies began shifting their tone. Entertainment outlets that once cheered her boldness were now pulling back. One celebrity tabloid ran a sharp new headline: "Too far. Royal look-alike sparks uproar." What had begun as a glamorous PR move was now unraveling into a slow public isolation, one that couldn't easily be undone. And just when it seemed the controversy had reached its breaking point, King Charles III delivered a quiet, devastating final note. That same day, during a private reception at Highgrove, the king reportedly turned to a small circle of Commonwealth ambassadors and spoke with icy clarity. "We no longer lend the crown's dignity to those who abandon its discipline." Those words, understated yet absolute, were the final nail in the coffin. The message had gone global, not shouted from tabloids, but whispered through corridors of power. The monarchy had spoken, and this time, silence wasn't weakness. It was victory. That's not cruelty, that's stewardship. Those 6 words, spoken calmly by King Charles III, hit harder than any royal decree in years. Within minutes, they leaked, and by morning, they were splashed across every major headline in Britain. The Crown hadn't spoken with rage or theatrics this time. It had spoken with definition. Across the Atlantic, in Montecito, the silence that once felt strategic now sounded like survival. When the palace's final enforcement letter arrived at the Sussex estate on the evening of January 5th, a chill deeper than California's coastal fog reportedly settled over the property. But what came next wasn't symbolic. It was administrative, calculated, and by royal standards, irreversible. On January 6, 2026, the Royal Affairs Division at the Crown Records Office and the Home Office's Royal Affairs Department received an official filing. Its subject line was blunt: stripped of ceremony. Deactivation of honorary titles and style privileges. Sussex line. It marked the beginning of what palace insiders now call the Royal Freeze. And this time, no Hollywood PR maneuver, no streaming deal, and no Spotify contract could undo it. Behind palace doors, the quiet architects of this historic shift were Princess Anne and Princess Catherine. Together, they led one of the most consequential recalibrations of royal boundaries in decades. Their mission was supported by a specialized internal advisory group, the Council on Institutional Integrity, a team of ethics advisors, legal experts, and archivists tasked with protecting the monarchy's image from exploitation. Their response unfolded with methodical precision through a three-tiered review process. Title audit, a full investigation into every instance where the Duke or Duchess of Sussex's titles had been used post-2021 for promotion, sales, or advocacy, especially when the usage implied royal endorsement or sovereign authority. Visual Violation Index, a new digital archive cataloguing every photo, product image, and campaign still in which Meghan or Harry appeared styled or framed in ways echoing royal presentation, complete with familiar backlighting, brooch placement, or Windsor-inspired wardrobe styling. The findings were said to be extensive, a mapped trail of curated imagery and branding choices designed to maintain royal association without official sanction. The message behind the audit was clear. The era of blurred boundaries was over, and the Crown was reclaiming its image, not through confrontation but through cold procedural power. The final phase of the operation hinged on the Ethical Legacy Clause, a reform first proposed by Princess Anne back in 2022, designed to give the Crown the authority to revoke or restrict royal privileges when public behavior was found to undermine the dignity of the institution. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was policy, cold, structured, and unstoppable. At exactly 10 a.m. London time on January 7th, the Palace Press Office released a meticulously worded, legally vetted communiqué. The language was formal yet piercing, the tone unmistakably final. Following extensive review, His Majesty the King, in concert with the Council on Institutional Integrity, confirms the cessation of all active styling privileges, title references, and heritage claims related to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their immediate descendants. This decision reflects the Crown's ongoing commitment to clarity, dignity, and stewardship in the public sphere. Behind the polished phrasing, the meaning was devastatingly clear. Archie and Lilibet would no longer be styled as Prince or Princess. The designations Duke and Duchess of Sussex were to be retired from public use, with enforcement delegated to global media registries, press bureaus, and diplomatic protocol offices. The monarchy had spoken with quiet precision, and the modern royal reset had begun. The reaction was explosive. Within hours, Meghan Markle's PR team released a carefully crafted counter-statement. Emotional, defiant, and designed for public sympathy. Titles are not the measure of a woman's impact. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, will continue to uplift women worldwide through compassion, vision, and creativity. But then, something strange happened. The word "the Duchess" vanished from the Archewell website's masthead barely 30 minutes later. It was a silent admission that the legal gravity of the palace's declaration had hit home. Behind the scenes, lawyers were already stepping in, and every digital trace of title usage became a liability. By the following morning, Netflix quietly postponed an upcoming special tied to Meghan's lifestyle brand, citing production adjustments. And in Paris, Dior discreetly reassigned a campaign slot that had long been rumored to feature Meghan as its global feminine voice. The domino effect was in motion, and this time there would be no press spin strong enough to reverse it. What began as a scandal of mistaken identity had now crystallized into royal policy, with every move broadcast not through drama but through deliberate regal control. Silence had become the safest strategy, even safer than loyalty. One industry insider told Variety, "The palace didn't just take away the titles, they made association risky." Those words summed up the new reality perfectly. And as the storm raged from London to Los Angeles, one question lingered. Where was Prince Harry in all of this? According to Montecito locals, he was seen walking his dog alone near the hills above Butterfly Beach, dressed in a baseball cap and dark sunglasses. No security detail, no camera crew. Just a solitary figure, the image of a man suspended between two collapsing worlds. Back in London, Prince William handled the unfolding crisis with calculated calm. During a private dinner with senior aides and several Commonwealth envoys, he reportedly addressed the matter with unshakable clarity. This isn't exile, it's structure. And structure is what protects the monarchy when sentiment fails. Those words weren't leaked accidentally. They were released deliberately. A quiet signal from the future king that the age of leniency was over. The monarchy would stand, not through sympathy, but through order. By midnight, January 7th, the digital world had caught up with royal reality. Major search engines, including Google and Wikipedia, were updated across their global networks. Entries now listed: Prince Archie to Archie Mountbatten Windsor, Princess Lilibet to Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor, Duke and Duchess of Sussex Arrow, former styling, inactive. It was one of the fastest institutional resets in modern royal history. Across official royal family pages, a quiet new line appeared beneath both Sussex profiles. No longer hold active royal or privileges, not in line of succession. Even the Royal Lineage Archive, meticulously maintained by Oxford historians since 1863, was updated overnight to reflect the new order. Centuries of royal protocol had just been rewritten, not through ceremony but through data. By morning, the world woke to a monarchy that had spoken through silence, policy, and precision, proving once again that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply erases you, with grace. Beside the names Archie Mountbatten Windsor and Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor, a small mark appeared, a simple asterisk. But its meaning was thunderous. They are no longer part of the story. The message was unmistakable. The royal chapter had closed. In a rare show of unity, Queen Camilla was overheard privately commending Princess Catherine for her extraordinary composure during the public phase of what insiders dubbed the royal freeze. Grace and unshakable dignity, she reportedly said, words that carried surprising warmth given their rumored differences in the past. The moment signaled something rare within the palace walls, a genuine alliance. As one royal aide put it, the crown is tired of drama, and Catherine, she's the answer. For the first time in years, the monarchy wasn't reacting to chaos. It was defining control. And the public could feel the shift in the air. The fallout from King Charles's formal revocation of the Sussex family's styling was swift, relentless, and isolating, especially for Meghan Markle. Across Britain, news outlets ran victorious headlines hailing the royal reset. Meanwhile, American media began to quietly retreat. What had once been a glittering brand built on a balance of rebellion and royalty was now reduced to background noise. The mystique had faded, and so had the market. But inside the palace, something new was taking shape. A reconstruction of royal order. And at its center stood Princess Catherine. In the days following the January 7th decision, her approval ratings skyrocketed, not because of an interview or a fashion moment, but because of her silence. She didn't issue statements or sit for tell-all specials. Instead, she simply worked. Her calendar filled instantly with meaningful engagements, visits to mental health clinics, children's hospice centers, and veterans programs. And on January 10th, she appeared at the Women in Leadership Forum at Kensington Hall, wearing a tailored navy suit, no tiara, no sash, no spectacle. Standing at the podium, she spoke just one simple truth. Legacy is not inherited. It's earned, every day. The audience erupted into applause. It was a defining moment, the kind of quiet power that can't be scripted. For the first time since Princess Diana, the monarchy had found an icon not born of tragedy, but of choice. A leader who embodied the future rather than running from the past. Meanwhile, back in California, the fallout hit Archewell hard. By January 9th, 2 key board members, a senior media strategist and a philanthropic director, had resigned quietly. Insiders described the mood as tense, uncertain, and fractured. The empire that once thrived on noise was now crumbling in silence, the very silence Catherine had mastered. Citing internal misalignment and reputational liability concerns, the dominoes began to fall faster than ever. On January 10th, a major US retailer abruptly pulled a high-profile holiday collaboration with Meghan's homewares line. A leaked memo obtained by Ad Age made the reasoning clear. Post-title revocation, Any product tied to royal insinuation represents a potential litigation risk. That single sentence echoed through boardrooms from Los Angeles to London. The brand was distancing itself, fast. Even Spotify, still recovering from the so-called audio silence scandal, issued an official clarification. No current Sussex projects are under development. For a woman who once stood alongside Beyoncé, Oprah, and Serena Williams as a global icon of reinvention, the silence now surrounding Meghan was deafening. One Hollywood producer put it bluntly, "The fairy tale's over. What's left isn't royalty, it's reality." And then came the breaking point. On January 11th, Prince Harry finally re-emerged, live, unfiltered, and visibly shaken. He launched a surprise Instagram livestream, a 15-minute broadcast tagged #FamilyTruth. In it, he declared, "Titles don't make character," and accused the palace of being afraid of his freedom to speak. For a brief moment, the stream drew nearly 600,000 viewers until it was flagged for privacy violations and swiftly removed. But the real blow came the next morning. At dawn on January 12th, Prince William's private secretary issued a single-line public statement. 12 words that cut through all noise. "The Crown does not respond to threats, it protects the people." That was it. No elaboration, no interviews, just one line that landed like a royal hammer. Insiders described it as the firmest tone ever publicly endorsed by the future king. And it worked. Overnight, the message was clear. There would be no negotiation, no olive branch, and no comeback tour. Across the UK, support for the Wales family exploded. Over 120,000 citizens signed a digital petition urging Parliament to introduce the Catherine Principle, a case study on grace under pressure and the preservation of duty, to be included in national education programmes. Major newspapers followed with glowing front pages. Catherine, the steady flame of Windsor, the Daily Telegraph. Anne, Edward, Sophie, the quiet royals who now lead loudly. The Guardian. Harry and Meghan, the brand that overreached. The Times. By nightfall, Buckingham Palace stood bathed in calm light, silent but untouchable. The message was unmissable. The monarchy had outlasted the noise. Meghan and Harry had gambled with image, but the crown had played for history, and history, as it turned out, doesn't blink. Supporters began leaving white roses beneath the Queen's statue outside Buckingham Palace, each one tied with a handwritten note thanking Catherine and William for keeping the line clean. The air was cold, quiet, and heavy with meaning. This was no longer about scandal. It was about succession. On the evening of January 12th, King Charles III issued what would become his final memorandum to both the Privy Council and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. The words were short, but they carried the weight of a dynasty. All styling, protocol, and funding related to the Sussex line is hereby retired indefinitely. This is not a punishment. It is a restoration. May future generations understand this as a safeguard, not a slight. Then, in a rare unscripted comment at Windsor, the king looked up from his notes and said quietly, "We must live in the truth, even if others prefer illusion." According to palace insiders, that moment ended all speculation. There would be no reconsideration, no second chances, and no reactivation of titles. As one senior aide put it, Charles didn't truly become king when he was crowned. He became king when he drew the line. The next day, January 13th, 2026, the story's final image didn't come from London. It came from Montecito. Paparazzi lenses caught Meghan Markle stepping into a black SUV. No children, no Harry. Just a binder clutched to her chest and a single bodyguard following behind. The photos hit social media within minutes, and speculation exploded. But across the ocean, the tone couldn't have been more different. That same day, Princess Catherine attended a quiet family ceremony at Sandringham. She knelt beside a young oak tree planted in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. Her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, standing silently beside her in matching navy coats. Snow drifted through the air as a royal photographer captured the moment that would define a new chapter in royal history. Catherine, head bowed, pressing her bare hand against the bark of the tree. No crown, no spotlight, just a gesture, calm, strong, and final. Her expression said everything the palace didn't need to. Not victorious, not vengeful, simply resolute. From Montecito to Westminster, the message rang clear across continents. The line of succession stands unchallenged. The royal brand is sealed. The age of ambiguity is over. And for anyone who once treated royal titles like currency, the crown had delivered its ultimate verdict. Titles are sacred, not for sale, not for leverage, and never, ever for show. The chapter had closed. The monarchy had survived not through noise, but through discipline. A kingdom rebuilt not on drama, but on quiet strength. If you made it this far, like, share, comment, and subscribe to keep this story alive. Let's talk. Do you think the palace went too far, or was it the justice the monarchy needed?